Hey movie fans, so I just got back from seeing one of my most anticipated movies, not just of the year, but probably one of my most anticipated movies ever, if I'm being honest. I am a huge Uncharted fan. I didn't grow up playing the first three games, but I came on board around the time that the fourth one came out. I binge played the first three, played the fourth, and I immediately fell in love because I grew up reading a lot of treasure hunting stories. Like Treasure Island is one of my favorite books as a kid. I love the hunt for the obscure, more or less, like the useless facts and information actually being beneficial one day is just a great thought for me. So I love the franchise. I've been excited for this movie for a while, and I've been patient for even longer because this movie has had a rough development period. It's been in the works since I believe 2007, 2008. It's been in development for that long. You've had big name directors like Sean Levy, Dan Trachtenberg, David O. Russell all depart the project over time. Now you have Tom Holland starring as Nathan Drake amid much controversy, as people were kind of hoping for an older actor like a Nathan Fillion. So what did I think about Uncharted, the movie that I've been waiting for so long? It's fine, and I'm okay with that. It's a complicated relationship that I'm sure I will have with this movie for as long as it's a thing. Is it the best adventure movie? By no stretch of the imagination. There's plenty of other recent adventure movies that I'd much rather watch. Is it a good Uncharted movie? At points. It gets some things really, really right, and some moments I feel very much like I'm in Uncharted. Others, it doesn't fully come together. But for me, having waited for so long, the fact that it's finally here, I'm content and happy with. Like, there was no way that I would walk away from this disappointed, just because I just wanted some fun Uncharted references, a little bit of swashbuckling action, and I got that, even if this is not necessarily the best showcase of the Uncharted brand. Like, Uncharted 4 is a masterpiece, and this gets nowhere close to that. But it is still fun, and I could see the potential for future things. There's plenty of great stuff, but there's also some stuff that I really don't like. So let's break this down. Let's start with some goods. We'll talk about the bads, and we'll come back to the goods to make it a good sandwich all around, shall we? One of the best things about this is the thing that a lot of people had issues with: Tom Holland as Nathan Drake. I personally was always on board with the casting because I understood that they're going in a specific direction. I understand that people wanted an older Nathan Drake. I get that. I really do. But Sony wants this to be a franchise, and if you want to franchise it, you've got to go younger. You don't start with an older actor like a Nathan Fillion. I get it. I get Tom Holland was not everyone's pick, and that they just see Spider-Man. I liked him a lot in this role. He's not just playing Spider-Man. He definitely feels much more like a mature, definitely jacked adult. He definitely put on some muscle for this. I think he's having a lot of fun. There's definitely lines of dialogue and some quips that he has that feel more Nathan Drake-ish than Spider-Man. He's definitely got this fun cockiness to him. However, I don't think he's the one that really nailed the character the best, and that would probably be Sophia Ali as Chloe Fraser. I thought she was like a dead ringer for the Chloe that we know and love from Uncharted 2 and 3. And Lost Legacy. I thought she was great in it. I thought she's very much like that Catwoman type of, do you trust her? Do you not? Is she on the good side? Is she on the bad side? What side is she playing here? Probably the winning side, whatever that happens to be at the moment. But I think she was really, really great at that. I also really liked the puzzles. They really did a good job of making it feel like the Uncharted games at times, of feeling like, okay, we've got to think this out. There's a weird like trap or device that we have a key for, and we got to figure out where are we going next. How does this activate? Think this through. In that regard, it felt very much like the puzzles in Uncharted 4 where you're moving the tiles. I really liked that. I felt like I was watching the game come to life in that moment. So let's talk about some of the negatives, and then we'll circle back to the positives. I will always own up to when I'm wrong about something, and I didn't want to be wrong. I didn't want to be wrong about this because I tried to defend this, but in the end, it still was an issue, and that's Mark Wahlberg as Sully. I had heard the criticisms for so long of he's not right, and even I was like, that it does seem kind of weird because Mark Wahlberg at one point was attached to be Nathan, not Sully, a very different character. And I was like, you know what? We'll see how it plays off. It's not good, guys. It's just Mark Wahlberg playing Mark Wahlberg. Mark Wahlberg is a very different character than Sully, and if he was playing not Sully and just playing a tough guy type, and Sully was still on the table out there somewhere, I think I would mind it less. But the relationship between Nate and Sully is what this movie is more or less advertised as, is like the origin of their friendship and their bond. By the end of this, I do not buy that these guys are friends at all. It feels very much like Mark Wahlberg phoned this one in. He's not good. I will absolutely own up to that for having false optimism that he would be good in this. However, he's not the biggest issue, but a lot of the issues around this movie kind of revolve around Wahlberg and his disinterestedness and his lack of chemistry, both with Tom Holland and just for the Sully character in general. I will say that this movie very much drags in the middle. It has a very fun opening piece, and it's got a fun action set piece at the end that we see in the trailers with the big pirate ships and everything else. The middle definitely drags, and there's certain story elements that I don't think really fully come together or are all that engaging. Particularly, they keep going back to, can Nate trust Sully? That relationship doesn't really work to me in this. Like, maybe it's just because I'm still just used to it being on the games, but I think as a movie the relationship doesn't work. Even if you haven't seen the Uncharted games to know what Nate and Sully are supposed to be like, if you haven't seen the games, I think the relationship still doesn't work, and the middle just drags a lot. I also think that the main villains, because there's two main villains in this, both of them are kind of meh and very forgettable. Like, give it a week or two and I will forget these villains' names. However, I will kind of give it a pass to that because Uncharted itself as a video game franchise has had some very forgettable villains. Like, sure, we've got some great villains like Rafe from Uncharted 4 or Lazarevich from Uncharted 2, but for the life of me, I still can't remember who the villains were in Uncharted 3. I can picture their face, but you can give me a week and I still can't remember their names. I don't want to give a pass to them, but at the same time, I can't hold the double standard and be like, well, the Uncharted games always have great villains. Like, it's really not always that case. But there's one issue that I absolutely hated in this movie more than anything else, and it might surprise you, and it might just be a nerdy nitpick, but I don't think it is. I hated the music for this. The music was awful. I think they absolutely got the wrong person to do the music for this. I love all four of the original Uncharted music. That you got Greg Amundsen doing the first three, and then you've got Henry Jackman with his fantastic score for Uncharted 4 Thief's End. And I was really hoping that they would get Jackman back for this movie, because he's done film stuff. He did Captain America: Winter Soldier, Civil War, both the Jumanji movies, which are fantastic and have that adventure vibe to them. The music in this, it never really feels tonally like an action adventure type music. It feels much more like generic background rock, and that should not be the tone here. Uncharted is bolstered a lot in the games by how good the music is. It's like when you're watching Indiana Jones. Took us long enough to get this comparison, but it's like when you're watching Indiana Jones, you've got that fantastic dun 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 dun. Uncharted has fantastic music. I'm not saying you need to overuse it, but when you do choose to use it, because this movie does choose to use it for a split second, it should be proud, it should be bombastic, not playing at like 50% volume. And take that moment aside, the rest of the score doesn't add to the movie, which music should be. For a big, huge action set piece, the music should get you locked in, not going, this doesn't really fit. Like when you're playing the games for Uncharted, the music accentuates the action that you're playing. You feel like you're in a big action set piece. It's swashbuckling adventure, not generic alt rock. Like this music, it's by the same guy that did Pacific Rim, and there's more times that I'm like, this sounds Pacific Rim-ish and not adventure-ish. I got more Uncharted music out of the new Jumanji movies than I got in the actual Uncharted movie. I thought the music was a huge miss. I still listen to all the Uncharted soundtracks to this day. I probably will not be going back and listening to this music. I thought it was awful, and it really hurts a lot of scenes because you're just going, The music's not amping me up like it's supposed to. There's this dissonance. Let's get back to some positives around things out, though. I think the action is fantastic in this when there is action. You see in the trailers, you get the big flying pirate ships for the big finale. You got Nathan Drake flying out the plane just like he does in Uncharted 3. The big action set pieces, when they're there, they are a lot of fun. The editing with them is horrible, and you can't fully appreciate some of the stunt work that goes on because Tom Holland does some great stunts here. The editing is a little wonky, though, and not as good as it could be, but the action scenes, they feel like an Uncharted game. They feel big, bombastic, larger than life. Yes, they don't always obey the laws of physics, but I'm going, they don't always in the game either, so I can live with that. The games aren't always perfect in their physics. I'm okay with it here because that's just kind of what I expect from Uncharted. I expect a fun time. Lastly, as an Uncharted fan, there's certain Easter eggs that I was on the hunt for that I appreciate that they're there. There's not as many as I would like, and there's some changes to the Uncharted mythology that I kind of have to dwell on as to whether or not I actually like them or not. But there's some fun Easter eggs. Without saying too much, there's one specific joke that I was waiting for that is in the games, and several of the games that I was kind of hoping would be in this, and it is. And there's at least one fun cameo in there. There's a lot of good, oh hey, remember that? That's good. That's nice. So at the end of the day, I'm conflicted about Uncharted. There's a lot of stuff that I like, but there's a lot of stuff that I don't. I don't hate this movie by any stretch of the imagination. I was going to be happy with this movie either way, so long as it was fun, and I got some Uncharted references, and I got that. If we get a sequel announced this weekend, which probably won't be the case, I don't expect this movie to do overly well at the box office. If we get a sequel, I'll be super amped, but it might be best to go with a different director next time, because Ruben Fleischer, this is not his best movie. It's not a bad movie. If it wasn't an Uncharted movie, wouldn't be that good, I don't think. I think I'm objectively biased towards this movie because of my love for Uncharted. You would think it'd be the opposite, and I would hate it because I love Uncharted. But there's enough Uncharted lore and fun here for me to personally love it because I'm so invested in the franchise. I've got a little homemade Lego Nathan Drake. That's how much I care about this franchise, and because I'm that much of a dork. I was gonna be happy with this either way, so long as I got the bare minimum of requirements, and I got that. Would I recommend it to non-Uncharted fans? I don't know if I'd say rush out and go see it, but if you are even remotely interested, I'd say give it a chance. If not, check it out when it comes on streaming. It's, as far as video game adaptations, it is far from the worst. It at least understands some core concepts from the game, unlike, you know, Doom. Well, what do you guys think? Have you seen Uncharted? Are you even remotely interested in seeing this? Let me know in the comments below. I always like hearing from you guys. And if you haven't already, subscribe to the channel. And as always, stay sharp, movie guys and gals.